in the history we have had various moments when arts and sciences were linked, were very much working together, and that was such a period was the Renaissance period, or the first decade of the 20th century, where we had parallelisms between arts and sciences. And people who have researched this matter, such as Arthur I. Miller, find these parallelisms to be based on something we call visual thinking. So if we're able to think visually, whether in arts or in sciences, then we're able to come up with significant discoveries. What attracts me here is seeing these artists who are working with biotech art practices and trying to place them in a broader cultural and philosophic context via exploring the fields of biopolitics, biophilosophy, and biotechnology. So I believe that biotech art is one stellar example where we're able to bridge the gap between the arts, between the humanities, and between the sciences. Therefore, it's very interesting to see the works of biotech artists here in this camp and how they are able to work together. So in a way, it's a collective, it's a triumph of collectivity in a way. Biotech arts is this special field which enables us to grasp or enter another field very significant, which is called biopolitics. So basically, the socio-political consequences of the biotechnological revolution have a tremendous impact on civilization. Governments, societies are very well aware of that, and in a way, biotechnology is used very much for biopolitical purposes. Whether it is that some of the artists use biotechnology in a sense to assist the normalization of acceptance of biotechnology within society, because as you might remember 25, 30 years ago, it wasn't that accepted. So just by the very fact that the artists are working with biotechnology, society gets used to this, but it normalizes the situation. So we cannot say that biotech artists are neutral in this respect. So therefore, I have to say that the work of avant-garde artists and experimental artists is always one which signals elements of what is happening in society and what will happen in society. A society can, just by normalizing certain situations, be able to control the situation much easier than it was able to control them by punitive actions. So that is one of the points of biopolitics. If you're able to program basically society from a certain position and take it to where you want to, then you're able to successfully fulfill the mission of biopolitics. And there's always latent conflict between artists and scientists. There is this non-understanding of what the arts wants to say and what the sciences want to say. Society as a whole has not bridged this divide between the arts and sciences, and therefore we cannot move further and quicker in the 21st century. I would say in the field of ethics that the arts and sciences both co-constitute each other, because they ask questions which are used in for the making of certain biotech art projects. They both ask questions from their respective disciplines. So in a way, they co-constitute the question, which is later on put to the ethics authorities, whether at universities or some other civil authorities. Now, in order to develop projects in biotechnology, there are different ways of how you can do it. You can either work with tissue culture, which means you work with cells as they are, or you can use genetic materials. Now, if you use genetic materials, you could use animal materials, or you could use human cells. Yeah, animal cells or human cells. So in a way, there are various limitations from the conceptual level to the practical level of working with biotech art materials? Well, one of the limitations is that the material in a lab, that the material from the plants and the humans cannot be mixed. You cannot work with this material in the same laboratory. It has to be different laboratories. So this is one sort of an ethical, let's say, consideration or a certain decision that was taken at some point by universities and which is applied all around, yeah, all across the board. So if a certain laboratory or a certain camp is being attributed as if it will work only with plant cells or only with animal cells, it will be highly unlikely, impossible that you could be working with human cells as well. So yeah, that is one of the limitations, and one which artists also know, especially artists who work in laboratories. Yeah, the works of let's say Adam Zaretsky and other artists who work across the board and who use genetic materials or tissue materials and use them in a way which is artistic or sort of more liberal. Sometimes they find problems with the labs themselves that are wanting to impose different rules, and rightly that they want to control the process in a way. It would be interesting to see that artists are, let's say how artists are able to bend these very strict rules. It's in a way some artists do, but then again they either get into problems or there is problems further down the track. What I would really like to see is a collective work coming from a camp such as this, because all of the artists, they're working really on their own themes which they really know very much and which they research, and they research in a way that is very individual. But I believe that in the collective work there is always some surprise, and there is always something which comes along which no one really expected. And this new effect, this sort of effect of, like Bertolt Brecht's Fao effect, really is not only artistic, but really enables us to see the world in a different way, yeah, and then creates another road, another path for us. This new way of working is, I would say, maybe also a way of how biopolitics is being sort of altered in a way, because the do-it-yourself technology and the DWO technology in a way enables a great variety of artists, even children, to work with technologies which were unimaginable even 5 or 10 years ago. So even now you have biotech art kits, like biotech kits, which you can buy for $50 in pharmacies, and you can really work professionally or semi-professionally with them. So this is the liberating aspect, an aspect that prevents biopolitics of fully dominating biotechnology, of fully inserting itself over society. So as I see biopolitics trying, or governments trying to control via the means of biotechnology the population, I also see this liberating, revolutionizing aspect, which and one of the ways of how that is enabled is through these do-it-yourself kits, which are being sold online or being sold in pharmacies. So there is a potential for liberation, I would say. Biotechnology enables an economical hegemony. So it enables us through the research, but also through the products of biotechnology. And we've had Chase Dunn, Canada, and Brewer show that different parallels can be seen as they could with the world hegemony. So we have the Dutch trading hegemony, in the 17th century. Then we had the British hegemony of the 18th and 19th century, and we had the American hegemony of the 20th century. So somewhere by the end of the 20th century, the US government kind of figured out that maybe they're on the downfall, and they were looking into which technologies can be developed so that the US will maybe achieve another century of dominance, as the British did in the 18th and 19th century. And the studies came up with the concept that it's only possible to realize this via biotechnology. Nowadays, the situation has turned around, and we even have city-states like Singapore who are able, out of nothing, to create a lot of biotechnological research. China is such as well. And we've sort of come up to this situation that biotechnology has become decentralized. Biotechnology maybe really shouldn't get into the hands of ordinary people, that everyone shouldn't really be working with them, and that there should be a ban imposed, maybe such as was the ban on plutonium. There is a writing called New Biopolitics, and it's written by Zhangjie Yu and Jiangwei Liu, and they have an essay called New Biopolitics. And what they claim is that the biotechnological revolution deeply changes and reconstructs Foucault's concept of biopolitics and announces the era of biocapitalism. One of them is utopian hope, and the other one is dystopian desperation. So biocapitalism not only is able to create an ethical degeneration and cultural shock, but even more important, opens up new areas of political hegemony and economical aggression through reconstruction of biopolitics, as well as through an overall domination of capital over nature and human society. I am thinking that it is possible that at some point biocapitalism can turn into something which we would call biosociety, which would be in a humane way programming society so that it doesn't really get into these circular crises of capitalism as we always have. I really think that there is a biopolitical apparatus which is being created, and it's being created in various areas. Economy, commerce, all assist with the creation of the biopolitical apparatus, but art as well is not innocent in all of this. Artists can be helping in the creation of the biopolitical apparatus simply by taking a neutral stand. So this neutral stand, in a way, you can argue that it creates positivism, which later on normalizes practices of biotechnology and conveys them to society as a fait accompli. So that's why the ethics is quite important, and it is important that artists always take into consideration possibilities, unwanted or wanted, or simply remain with a critical attitude always throughout their life.